Pre-shredded cheese gets a lot of hate. That's because it contains anti-caking agents to prevent it from clumping and to keep it fresh.
You do not want to use this pretty much ever, but especially not in making a mac and cheese sauce.
It's even gotten to the point where people have started to wash their own cheese.
We're basically gonna rinse off this anti-caking agent that comes in all pre-made shredded cheese.
For this video, I wanted to see if there's actually a difference between pre-shredded cheese and block cheese that you shred at home yourself. Does it really melt worse? Does it really taste worse? And don't worry, there's gonna be no cheese washing here. I'm gonna figure out if it's worth spending the extra time or should you just skip ahead and buy pre-shredded cheese at the grocery store. So without further ado, let's get cheesy.
Pre-shredded cheese gets a lot of hate because of the additives so it doesn't cake. Apparently it makes cheese real grainy and it don't melt right. Hey, that's what they're saying. So if you're feeling really cheesy and you want it to melt easy, let's do a couple tests to see which cheese is the best. At the end of this video, you know which brand to get. Save some money, save some time, cook amazing, that's a fact.
In front of me, I have starch and cellulose. These are the most common anti-caking agents found in pre-shredded cheese. Now, in the cooking world, both of these are commonly used as thickeners, but cellulose is actually also used as a dietary fiber. Cellulose is a fiber found in most plants, but most commercial cellulose is actually made from wood pulp, which is why you hear people complaining that pre-shredded cheese contains sawdust. Ooh, there are many brands of shredded cheese out there, so I decided to test the most common three: Tillamook, Kraft, and Sargento. I have a suspicion that the quality of cheese would vary from brand to brand, thus affecting the overall results. I'm also only testing cheddar cheese because I wanted a cheese that could be both used as a single ingredient like in a grilled cheese or as in a sauce like with mac and cheese. Plus, most cheese blends usually include some form of cheddar anyways. In a dry taste test, pre-shredded Kraft and Sargento seem to be the most powdery and cakiest. This was both the mild and sharp versions. Okay, already noticeable difference. Kraft pre-shredded cheese, very, very chalky. But pre-shredded Sargento cheese is a lot cakier. Like, I can really taste the anti-caking agents here and I can see it too. On the other hand, Tillamook was not chalky or powdery at all, and it seemed to use the least amount of anti-caking agents out of the three, for both the mild and sharp versions as well. And overall, Tillamook just tasted better. So based off this first test alone, it seems that the amount of anti-caking agents used does vary from brand to brand. But let's see how this affects the cheese when it's melted.
You're just gonna go in and just gonna melt them for around
These cheeses were melted in the oven for 5 minutes at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. The first thing I noticed off the bat was that pre-shredded cheese emulsified a lot better than freshly shredded cheese, which blew my mind because that was not what I was expecting. Freshly shredded cheese, the oil separates a lot more easily than in pre-shredded cheese, as you can see here. Look at this. You see this? The oils are just coming out, as opposed to pre-shredded cheese where the oils and the whole cheese kind of sticks together as a whole, which could be actually better if you don't want oil all over the place. Look how holy that is. But when I started to taste these cheeses, that's when I started to notice a difference, but not in the way you would think. To start, let's focus on mild cheddar. Based on the previous dry taste test, I expected Kraft and Sargento to taste more chalky or have a more powdery texture, but that was not the case. I literally couldn't tell the difference between freshly shredded cheese and pre-shredded cheese. Can't really tell the difference between block Kraft cheese and pre-shredded Kraft cheese. The only difference I have is really just the way it looks when it melts, but overall the taste is the same. However, with the sharp cheddars, every single pre-shredded sample tasted a lot sharper than its freshly shredded counterpart. Arguably, the pre-shredded cheese tasted a lot better. So, I mean, we're only at experiment 1 and we're off to a crazy start. So let's move on to the next test, the grilled cheese test, to see what happens there. The grilled cheese test is very simple. I made grilled cheeses using the freshly shredded and the pre-shredded version of each brand. Then I did a simple side-by-side comparison to see if I could tell a difference in taste and in texture. Here are the results. I could not tell the difference between the two. There is no difference in texture, there's no difference in melt quality, exact identical taste and texture. I could honestly, if you blindfolded me and gave me these two, I would think they were the exact same sandwich, so. This was the pattern for each brand, with the exception of Tillamook Sharp Cheddar, where the pre-shredded version tasted a lot sharper than the freshly shredded version. Okay, noticeable difference in taste. The pre-shredded grilled cheese, a lot sharper than freshly grated grilled cheese. Also, I didn't really taste that graininess you would expect from pre-shredded cheese. Those anti-caking agents, the potato starch or cornstarch that's in here, didn't really come out in terms of texture, so I wouldn't worry about that too much. Now, like I said earlier, the one consistency that I'm seeing across the board is that freshly shredded cheese tends to be a lot oilier than pre-shredded cheese when melted. More oil comes out of freshly grated cheese. That is something I am noticing as well. This was consistent with the results in the first experiment, so it seems like when it comes to making grilled cheeses, it doesn't really matter if you have freshly shredded cheese or pre-shredded cheese. The exception being the Tillamook Sharp Cheddar, which I could tell a noticeable difference in taste, but not texture. That being said, let's see if these pre-caking agents will have more of an effect when making a cheese sauce like in mac and cheese, which we'll do now. Now, the main reason I wanted to do a mac and cheese test was because the biggest complaint about pre-shredded cheese was that it makes sauces like mac and cheese or a cheese sauce clumpy and grainy. However, after eating 7-8 mac and cheese sauces, I really did not taste any of that graininess or clumpiness at all. And in my personal opinion, I think if your sauce is getting clumpy or grainy, I think the main culprit here is your ability to cook a roux, because the roux in itself is more technical, is more difficult, and is what people always mess up with mac and cheese. And I don't think pre-shredded cheese should be the one to blame here.
The texture is the same.
The texture is the same. Okay, we both.
Truly identical.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think it's settled. In terms of texture, they are exactly the same. Pre-shredded cheese and block cheese does not affect the texture when used in mac and cheese, especially in a larger scale application like this. However, the one thing that I could tell difference was taste. And not between freshly shredded cheese and pre-shredded cheese, but between the brands. Each brand, when melted and made into a cheese sauce, had a very distinct taste. Kraft tasted different, Sargento tasted different, and Tillamook tasted different. And what's funny is that I actually preferred the taste of Tillamook, while my girlfriend preferred the taste of Kraft. Probably because Kraft is synonymous with boxed mac and cheese, and it's something that she is very familiar with. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that there is no difference in taste or texture if you stay within the same brand of shredded cheese. That being said, there are outliers in this case. With Tillamook pre-shredded cheddar, Sharp Cheddar specifically, there was a huge difference here. So Tillamook, I'm putting it off to the side as an outlier. But overall, with all the other cheeses, the mild cheeses, the sharp cheeses from Kraft, Sargento, Tillamook mild only Tillamook mild, I really couldn't tell a difference both in texture and taste. So can you tell the difference between pre-shredded cheese and freshly shredded cheese? If you're not cooking it, yes, 100%. You can definitely taste the difference, both in texture and taste. I highly recommend using freshly shredded cheese over pre-shredded cheese if you're gonna be using it for things like tacos, baked potatoes, things like that, where cheese is more so of a garnish, not the main ingredient. However, if you're planning on cooking with it, generally speaking, overall, you can't really tell the difference. So that's a no for me, with some caveats. When it comes to medium cheddar, no, you absolutely cannot tell the difference between the two. However, when it comes to sharp cheddar, we found that pre-shredded sharp cheddar has a lot stronger flavor than its freshly shredded counterpart. And out of all the cheeses, Tillamook was the cheese that had the most flavor distinction between freshly shredded and pre-shredded. Although it wasn't a bad thing, they just tasted different. And when it comes to those anti-caking agents, I would not worry about them making whatever dish you're making grainy or clumpy. However, I only tested 3 brands, and there are a ton of other brands out there that I haven't even touched. There are also other factors besides taste and texture that will affect your decision. Time. Do you have time to shred cheese? Money. Pre-shredded cheese is a lot more expensive than buying block cheese and shredding it at home yourself. So all these are going to affect your decision when you're at the grocery store. And my hope is that this video kind of makes you more informed on what you can expect when you buy these products. So if you made it this far, please consider subscribing, and I am open to suggestions, so leave some in the comments below on deep dives I can do in the future. Now I know, and thanks for watching.